Hello everyone, this is your 5 and welcome to Global Untitled Chapter review. And today's review we're looking at the 2010 release by Hasbro of the Marvel Studio Iron Man the Armored Avenger action figure review. And today's action figure review we're looking at the Legend series Titanium Man. Now, despite that the packaging stated it was released in 2010, perhaps late 2010, like December 2010, this was actually arrived on a toy shop near my work area on January 2011 instead, so it's a bit late, but it's still alright. I got this for 59 ringgit and 90 cents, so the pricing is actually not bad. Now you'll notice the front part packaging, it's similar to the Iron Man movie franchise packaging style. You got Iron Man on one side here, really nice artwork in his new armor. Now you notice on the top part here it stated Avengers Assemble, so it includes Iron Man, Thor, the movie Thor, and the movie version of the Captain America. So we'll be anticipating on these two movies to come out soon for this year. Now in the front part packaging you've got, the figure itself, the Titanium Man, and next to it is the what's stated below as the double missile launcher. You also notice this missile launcher is here, and there was supposed to be two missiles packaged in this packaging itself, but one of the missile is missing. I wasn't that too concerned with the missile launcher part there. I'm more concerned on the figure rather than this thing. And this missile launcher is basically the same as the first movie Titanium Man figures missile launcher, which I'm going to show a comparison later on. Now that's the front part packaging. Let's take a look at the back part of the packaging itself. On the top part here you got a small little write-up about Titanium Man, and here you got an image of the figure itself holding the double missile launcher. Here is the rest of the lineup, which includes Iron Man Mark 6 armor, Hulkbuster Iron Man, and War Machine. Yes, finally War Machine is available in retail everywhere, and it is not limited to Walmart exclusives or Target exclusives anymore. Now that's the part of the packaging itself. Without further ado, let's open up this packaging so we can molest the toy. Be right back. And we're back after removing the figure and the rest of the stuff out from packaging. Now I was quite surprised that the moment I opened this packaging itself, the inside packaging that stored the figure and the rest of the accessory, the inside packaging was rather oily, but it did not affect the figure or the accessories itself. I was quite surprised. I'm not too sure why the inside packaging was so oily to begin with. Now let's take a look at the accessories here. Despite that the packaging stated there's two missiles, this packaging only came with one missile itself, and this entire thing is made of an orange translucent plastic. But you notice the bottom section here is a bit bent. Now for the double missile launcher, the bottom section is made of an orange translucent plastic, not as thick compared to the missile itself. And the top section here, the entire missile launcher is painted in lime green, similar colors as the figure itself, except they added a bit more details to the sides here, to the stripes here. You can see it's painted in dark red. For the sculpt itself is exactly the same as the first Iron Man movie's Titanium Man's accessory, the double missile launcher. Yes, they're both the same thing, and there are no changes at all. The buttons is on the top, the guns is on the side, and that's where you load the missiles from the front. And there's also a cannon in the middle, and at the bottom the clip-on, and at the back I'm not too sure what it is. Basically it's the same thing, so much so alike that when I load the missile to the double missile launcher, the button is on the top, and when I press it, it does not fire at all, no matter how hard I press it. Same goes with the original with the double missile launcher, it does not fire. And to add more insult to injury, according to the back of the packaging as shown here, you're supposed to clip it onto the figure's wrist. As you can see, the clip-on, wrist, and it's on to the figure itself. Too loose. Now you can actually try to clip it on in this section here, but bear in mind that will stretch the plastic a little bit and it will tend to pop off from the hand quite easily. So I'm not too sure why Hasbro wanted to package this figure with the double missile launcher from the first movie's packaging, and it's not even intended for this figure to begin with, so that's rather weird. Well, anyways, let's take a look at the figure's paint job. Now the figure's paint job is utterly different as shown at the back of the packaging. You notice the back of the packaging is more, well, darker in green compared to this figure. The figure here is more in lime green, but you also notice the visor here is also painted in rather bright dark orange, or rather really dark orange. This one, however, it looks more metallic, which is a much more better compared to the, well, the original paint job itself. There's only 3 colors. You've got the lime green going on, the sort of metallic orange visor, really dull one as well, and a dull silver paint job on the rest of the body. That's all the paint job you get. Not as detailed compared to the 4-inch Iron Man 2 version of the Titanium Man paint job, you notice, because as you can see in the bottom section of the boots itself, this one's painted at the boosters, this one doesn't. So it's a bit disappointing, but it's still alright. There's no paint smudges anywhere except for the visor here, because there's some bleeding, very tiny bleeding onto the edge here due to the, well, visor's paint job. But other than that, the entire figure's paint job is actually no problem at all. Very nicely done. Now let's take a look at the figure's sculpt. Let's compare this to the 4-inch figure. They are basically the same design, with a bit change. The 4-inch figure, the shoulder pads here is part of the torso itself, but for the 6-inch itself, the shoulder pads are a different, separate piece, as you can see here. Very nice improvement. I really like this. It does not hinder the shoulder articulation, which I'm going to show later. The head sculpt, this head sculpt, the original 4-inch, is a bit shorter. This one, they elongate the head, so it looks very much alike to the comic version, which is also very great. Torso here, especially on the lower section of the hips here, they actually elongate it a little bit. You can tell by the back of the lower back of the waist joint here, especially on this joint. You compare this to, they actually elongate this section here, and also they elongate the bottom section of the boots itself to make him stand even more taller. The entire sculpt is basically the same as the 4-inch figure, but with improvements. Very nicely done. Although the hands itself is sculpted on one side in closed fist, the other one is open, but the entire figure looks very nice. Also, there's also a bit of difference, well, for obvious noticeable appearance. The joints, of course, is a bit different compared to the 4-inch figure, but the thigh here, if you compare to the thighs here, this one is more muscular. It's just on the top part there. The bottom section is a bit similar, but the top section is the most obvious change. Other than that, the rest of the stuff is quite similar to the 4-inch figure. Very nice, with a lot of nice improvement and a lot of nice little details there, tiny little details. Now let's do a size comparison. Let's do a size comparison compared to the War Machine figure. Now you can see Titanium Man stands a bit tall compared to War Machine here. We'll do a size comparison to the movie version of the Titanium Man, and he is so short that the comic version of the Titanium Man just towers him a lot. Very nicely done. Now let's take a look at the figure's articulation. The head is on a hinge ball joint, so the head can actually pivot up, down, and cannot turn 360 degrees because it's hindered by the shoulders itself, but can look left and right. Very nicely done. Torso here is on a hinge joint that goes back and forward. Very nice. waist joint that turns 360 degrees. Now the shoulder pads here is on a hinge joint, so it can go up and down. It will not hinder too much. Well, actually it does hinder, but it allows the figure's shoulders to raise the arm this much. And if you compare to the 4-inch figure, which barely able to lift all the way to the straight line just onto this angle itself, huge difference indeed, and a good improvement. So shoulders here can also lift all the way up this much, and upper bicep turn 360 degrees. Double jointed elbow that bend this far. Wrist joint here is on a hinge joint that swivels 360 degrees, go inward and outward. Ball joint hips that actually turn 360 degrees, and you have to twist on one side to actually turn the legs on one side. You got a swivel thigh that turns 360 degrees. Double jointed knee, and the ankle joint pivot downward and upward and turn 360 degrees. Very nicely done. Overall, I'm gonna give a rating for this figure. I say this figure is absolutely way more better than compared to the 4-inch figure. Way more better, because for the 4-inch figure, the shoulder pads is actually attached to the torso itself as part of the body, so it hindered the shoulder articulation very much. This is as much as it can move the shoulders itself. But with this figure, they fixed this issue by giving it a separate piece, which is an articulated shoulder pads that allows you to move the shoulders way more better. Now the entire figure is also rather nicely done with the sculpt, especially when they elongate some of the parts, especially the head. It looks way more better this time. It doesn't look more stumpy compared to the 4-inch figure. The head is way more longer. The torso, or at least the waist joint, they added a bit more length, and they added a bit more length on the bottom part of the boots or the legs itself to make him look way more taller. Way more taller compared to the first Titanium Man figure that was released for the first Iron Man movie. This is what Titanium Man is all about. He's supposed to look tall, he's supposed to look strong and big. Not something like this. Although this figure looks really great with the sculpt, but I prefer this because he's supposed to look big. Apart from that, what I really don't like is the paint job. Lime green it doesn't sit well for me. I really wish that the green is a bit more duller. But at least it's much more better than what's shown at the back of the packaging, because the back of the packaging shown is a bit more bright. What I'm really glad is the visor, because at the back of the packaging, the visor is way more bright in orange compared to this. So this one is way more better in the paint job for the visor itself. A little bit bleeding, but it's still alright. Despite that, the accessories is completely useless on the figure, because you can't actually attach the accessory onto the figure. So you can onto the wrist here, this section here. But other than that, why would you need to equip Titanium Man with this? He alone is more than enough. Articulation is really great. There's not a lot of hindrance. Of course, a bit hindrance to the shoulders, but not as bad as compared to the 4-inch figure. So if I'm gonna give a rating on this, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Yes, deservingly a 9 out of 10 for the 6-inch version of the Titanium Man. And I thank you all for watching. This is Lucy05, and I'm signing off.